Welcome. You've landed on the Daily Objective from the news capital of the world, and we're delighted you're with us. You're from all over the world. We are the Ayn Rand Center UK, but we have an audience, truly a global audience. We're all students of objectivism, and we're learning from great mentors and other students in objectivism. We've got a great panel today for the Thursday Collective, joining our minds from all over the globe, and in this case, all over the mighty US. Seth Levine from the Integrating Investor newsletter and the Integrating Investor website is here, and actor and activist Mark Pellegrino as well. Mark, I'm told, was #1 in his class at the OAC, the Objectivist Academic Center. So always delighted to have you guys be together with you guys.
By the way, I tied with Stephen Shub, another actor.
That's great. That's great. Who said they were cattle? What were they thinking when they called actors cattle? But Seth, we're also obviously happy to have you here today. We've got something that's going to, I think, up all our alleys. We're all pretty active on social media. We're all pretty active in business and in communications. And this is the real, I'll ask our host if I can share my screen. I want to share the screen of, this has been the big news of today in terms of business world, in fact, and that has been this new website, which is Facebook, or I should say Meta Threads. It has had 2 million signups in just 2 hours, and it has basically been described as Facebook's Twitter killer. Obviously, Twitter's been in all sorts of disarray in recent years, especially after having been bought by Elon Musk. Lots of things have been tried, turned off, but you've got 2 million signups in just the first 2 hours. Part of what the appeal is, Mark, is that they've got this installed base. Everyone who has an Instagram account already has a Threads account. So they're already kind of leaps and bounds ahead of like a Truth Social or any of the other apps vying for our attention right now. What do you think?
Hey man, any kind of medium like this, I think, is great. It's great for objectivists. It magnifies our voice. It enables us to get thoughts out there in the world to many more people. I know people have an issue with Zuckerberg and his leftism and the fact that the left controls social media for the most part, and they control our information centers, but they also give us an opportunity to put our thoughts out there in an unprecedented way. So I'm all for it, man. The more, the merrier.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously it's free. Seth, you might not remember, when I was a kid, you had a thing you could call a party line, 1-900 number, and they connected you to random people for like $10 a minute. This is a whole new platform. I mean, is this the free market at work? Another new alternative?
It's funny. The first thing, I kind of logged into Twitter this morning, as I usually do, to kind of catch up on the news. And I saw that Threads mentioned, or maybe that was on Instagram. And I was just like, oh, great. Another social media. This is a thing. Like this is the last thing in the world that I need, is another sort of demand on my time. But, to Mark's point, I mean, this is a market, right? More is always better, in a capitalist, society. So, Threads, go at it. I don't know how I'm gonna how I'm gonna juggle all the social media with the rest of my life, but it'll be interesting to see how this plays out over time.
Thank you, Karina, Pellegrino, for a great contribution, and we need your super chats today. Your super chats, your memberships, you are what are keeping this network on the air. We're history's largest network of original programming inspired by objectivism. Dr. Peikoff has a Twitter account. Some other well-known objectivists like Dr. Binswanger and Yaron Brook have Twitter accounts. You wonder, Mark, maybe Elon or maybe Mark Zuckerberg can invent a better mousetrap. I mean, look, I remember CompuServe. At the time, we thought that was the shit.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, the mousetraps are getting better and better and better, and hopefully he can. I have issues with Twitter lately. I'm not as virulent a critic of it as other people are. I think Elon has made some improvements, but there's other issues that I'm having with my stuff getting out there and getting seen. I still think that certain voices are being magnified to the exclusion of others in a way, and I'm not sure how to crack that algorithm yet. Maybe it'll be a little easier on Threads.
It's kind of funny. I mean, they look almost exactly the same too. I think what's interesting about Meta coming out with Threads, I mean, they don't have, they have a big leg up, as you mentioned, Jonathan, on anyone starting from scratch, where, you don't have to, it's just, you don't have to come up with another handle, another account, another, another password, whatever it is. You just kind of log right on. So the barriers to entry are as easy as downloading an app. I'm kind of surprised that there wasn't just like a, that they weren't linked together in a sense. So it's just one app kind of for the two services. I think that probably would have made things even easier for them, but I'm sure they have good reason why they didn't do that. But it's kind of interesting because like Instagram and Twitter, I mean, I'm obviously on both, are just they serve kind of different purposes, and I do kind of different things on them. Like Twitter, I'm much more engaged in like discussions and kind of posting blog content, kind of trying to take in news. And like Instagram, like it's just all about my jujitsu videos and and kind of funny meme accounts, right? Because it's much more of that medium, and like it's actually harder for me to at least just kind of post articles on that, because you can't link to kind of as easily the websites and have conversations. So they serve different markets and different needs, and it'll be interesting to see how Instagram, how Meta now is kind of encroaching on Twitter, and we'll see kind of who wins out this kind of tech battle. It's going to be fascinating.
What it even looks like, like part of what I find fascinating about the whole so-called invisible hand, the marketplace's work, is like it comes up with things, and I think I could have never thought of that. It seems so logical. And these things become, I mean, Seth, as you said, we wake up now, we check our social, which is where we get our news. It kind of just gives me hope to anyone who would say that this has a monopoly. The morning newspaper has a monopoly. They control the news. And like human innovation, oftentimes American innovation, always comes up with these new platforms, these new innovations that, boy, I never thought of this. And boy, it's making my life better at the same time.
That's a great point too. Like it just shows you like you don't need antitrust laws. One of the things that always fascinated me, if you read any of the history of like the robber barons, the quote unquote robber barons, is there was a lot of fear about how much market power they would have. And for anyone who understands the difference between economic and political power, right, Rand talks about that. I believe von Mises is another intellectual who kind of discusses this. You realize that economic power economic power is extremely fleeting. One of my favorite stats is like at one point, Rockefeller, right? Standard Oil, right, had he had a 90% market share in I guess in oil at one point. By the time antitrust came along, his market share dropped to like 60%. So in other words, like he was losing market share well before antitrust came along, just by the nature of competition and a free market. And what fascinates me even more is, around this time, you have the invention of the light bulb, right? So it actually wasn't antitrust laws that busted, Standard Oil. What was, the death blow, not that they're around anywhere, but at least for light, as it relates to kind of lighting products in your home, it was actually Thomas Edison who like destroyed that business, right? Thomas Edison, with the light bulb, and then obviously there was competition going on for electricity too. So, these in a free market, you have these large, honeypots that are created as sort of industries kind of concentrate, like they have maybe in social media with Facebook and Twitter. And yet here you have, a new entrance, so while some of the smaller guys haven't been able to maybe get a toehold in the space, here you have, the giants kind of going head to head, and, we'll see who wins this space. But it's great to see that people can still kind of enter and leave, the social media platform, despite, in spite of sort of such concentrated market shares.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, you've got a huge social media audience, Mark, across every platform. What would inspire you to pick up a new handle, a new platform, and start, posting your kind? You're the type of actor people say, I want him to be on my site. What would it take to get you to Threads, or what will it take?
All it takes is for him to open it up, and I'll go. Especially since it's linked to my Instagram. Like Seth, I have sort of two personalities in the social media. There's my Twitter personality, which is all about engaging in philosophy and politics. And sometimes it can get vitriolic and even toxic on that space. not, it doesn't make my, any of my fans or followers so happy to see that sort of the constant thread going on that. So my Instagram is sort of a relief from that. It's like dog pictures and cat pictures and advertisements for conventions and stuff, and maybe even jiu-jitsu I'll start putting up there too. So that's my friendly face, and my war face is on Twitter, unfortunately. So I'll definitely embrace it and definitely try to keep it sort of a separate, separate, more personal side to myself. But I'm a little concerned that now that Threads is going to be competing with Twitter, the toxicity and the animosity that the left and the right sort of bring to their conversations will start infecting that medium and contaminating it and making it, toxic too.
I actually think Zuckerberg has promised it's going to be supposedly a friendlier environment than Twitter. And thank you, Jeff, very friendly, for your contribution. Buster Jones, thank you for your contribution. Buster says he's been wondering what could replace Twitter. And all I know is, as I said, I was on BBSing on 300 baud modems way back in the day, and back at the time when basically you would CompuServe, then you had Prodigy, and that was networking. That was all of networking. They had 100% market share. To Seth, to your point about monopolistic power, Prodigy had 100% market share, maybe Prodigy and CompuServe. But how it's progressed has just been so mind-blowing that I'm just excited to see what these innovators, and I do think they're innovators, come up with. I mean, maybe it's a different way of using social media. Maybe it's a different way of connecting that's not just, Mark, as you said, kind of a shit posting, because they've got to offer something of value to get people to make a change.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too. Like, we've had a couple different social media sort of concepts kind of come and go over the years. You had like, was that like Clubhouse, right? And there's like Telegram, and I don't use any of the other ones, but we're back to, here comes Meta, again, it's like back to Twitter, and Twitter is basically just like a string of words, right? Like, it's very low tech, at least kind of on the user interface perspective. So, I guess it goes back to sort of the form and function aspect of what makes kind of a great product. And
Parler certainly couldn't do it. I mean, I don't know if you ever tried that medium, but it was not user friendly at all. So hopefully Threads is just as easy, if not better, than Twitter. And if that's the case, people are going to start going there. I mean, I think a lot of the angst over Elon Musk is more hyperbole than anything else. I don't know what you guys think about it. What do you think about what he's trying to do with the network? Do you think he's improved it? Do you think he's made it worse? I mean, anything the left hates, they try to make the world hate it. So I feel like a lot of the noise is just their noise because they hate it. But what do you think?
Well, I would just say, we actually did a podcast here on the Ayn Rand Center UK about what I perceived as Elon Musk's mishandling of his ownership of Twitter. What I just kind of overviewed was what seemed like a very erratic management and leadership style. Unlike with Tesla, Elon Musk's management of Twitter has just seemed to kind of be totally whim worshiping, going from kind of one idea to the next, trying something else, with really no big leading vision. That's my sense of why it's basically seemingly stuttered since he took over, but he just hasn't seemed to have that vision that maybe Zuck has. Seth, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've been part of the day job, I've looked at Twitter and, at Tesla, and this is not investment advice by any stretch of the imagination, in my own opinion, and not my employer's view, and kind of, I guess, all that as I switch to investment talk. But yeah, my sort of early kind of involvement in Twitter was that this is his management style. Involvement in Tesla this is his management style. That's sort of how he built it. He is a very one could say maybe a erratic kind of style to him. And I think he's bringing that to Twitter. I mean, the guy just dropped like $44 billion on Twitter. And like, I don't think he meant to buy it. I think he basically, has gotten away with a lot on Twitter because of probably all the virtue of, he's gotten away with a lot on Tesla because of a lot of the virtue signaling, I think, associated with Tesla, the company. And like, for example, like, he made statements on Twitter before about Tesla that one would have thought breached security law. Whether or not you agree with the law or not, that's a separate issue, but seemed pretty much like if it was anyone else, there could have been a boatload of issues with, and like he got away with it. And I think that maybe gave him a little bit of, an air of invincibility. And I think he went out and he made these comments about, buying Twitter. And I don't think he ever was expecting to have to buy it. And now he just spent a lot of money on this asset. And, maybe it's not a great business, but like, I think he's just trying to make it, I think he's trying to come out, he's throwing as much stuff against the wall and see if he can make it work. My sense is like, my own kind of view is I don't think if I had the money, I would have spent that money on Twitter, but that's just my own views.
It could just be that his first mover advantage is a disadvantage. I mean, Yahoo, I read, is going to be coming public. They were the big first mover in the first internet wave that got left behind. So, I mean,
yeah,
Mark, I mean, I don't know where you stand on necessarily Elon Musk, but if you were going to invest in either Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg, would you invest in terms of your belief in their ability to come up with the next big social media platform?
Yeah, like you, I'm a little bit put off by his erratic leadership style. I don't necessarily think that's the way to run a company. He should have a plan. It seemed like maybe he just had the vague outlines of a plan and nothing specific. Zuckerberg definitely seems more focused and has more intention. And I'll definitely experiment with his social media platform and see if it's better. I didn't. I certainly don't like his political perspective, and as an objectivist, of course, I think he's entitled to run his platform any way he chooses and to kick anybody off he chooses. I hope he's a little bit more open to objectivists in the future, because I'd like our ideas to spread a lot more and become more of the mainstream than they are. So, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to see what it's all about. I'm going to see what he's got going.
How about you, Jonathan? Do you plan on being on Threads?
Yeah, well, I've already signed up.
But yeah,
I just love every day. I feel like we kick back, and some of the smartest minds in the world. Seth, to your point, Elon Musk could have taken his $45 billion and bought an island and never lifted a finger. What does he need with this when you've got all that money? But there's something about the fact that these guys are up all night long working to try to make something that's going to make my life better that I'm not going to even have to pay for. There's something just so reassuring knowing that despite all the, Mark, to your point, the vitriol about politics and taxes and everything else that goes on with it, it's like these men are still out there. They're still coming up with these incredible innovations and, making our lives better for basically on our part.
And they give me the power to contact the president directly. When he tweets something stupid, I get to retweet that, put my quote tweet up there, and have a response to the president of the United States, have a response to a congressperson I think is out of control. I mean, that's a direct public square that gives you direct access to the areas of power that need to be spoken to, that need to be stood up against, and that magnifies your voice. Irrespective of how many followers you have, you're now in a massive square. Then somebody could pick that up and take that message and make it, more popular.
In terms of what happens, all I remember is in the early mid 90s, going on the internet when it seemed like the internet was basically just 12 websites I could think of at the time. I mean, the early days, you ran out of places to go. So I'm just excited by this prospect of new innovation in social media at a time in which it does seem like we kind of hit the wall. And when you hear about how poorly Twitter was run with all this ESG nonsense and all these boards and it seems like money throwing down the drain, I think it's exciting that new innovations. I guess for you guys, though, who are such MMA fans, is the real battle going to be on the social media platform or in the squared octagon? Is that what they call it? Or
the squared circle is the ring, but that's an octagon. It's an octagon, but
octagon.
I think the one thing Elon Musk was trying to do is get rid of all that woke stuff and all that wasted, crap, political crap that was really weighing down the company. And if he just is able to trim that fat, then perhaps it's a good thing. But this is spurring I guess Dana White is trying to actually match Zuckerberg against Elon Musk in a UFC fight. He in typical Barnum Bailey fashion thinks this is going to be the fight of the century. I know tons of people would love to see it. Of course, it's the tribes, left-right tribes will really, this is red meat for them, man. I personally, I personally wouldn't mind seeing Zuckerberg get choked, or maybe busted up a little bit. But that's me. That's me. I mean,
Well, for people who don't know, basically they've been challenging each other online, and I guess have kind of tacitly agreed, Zuckerberg and Musk, to square off with under kind of an MMA banner.
Yeah, now I'm hearing, Seth, have you heard anything about Zuckerberg? Somebody said he's a pretty good striker and pretty good at jiu-jitsu, but the tapes that I saw look pretty lame.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're all. I mean, I'm not that good at jujitsu, and I'm 4 years in or something like that. And like, but compared to myself now versus like just walking in off the mats, like, so I got to give the upper hand to Zuckerberg here, just by the fact that he's been training for so long. And even if it's a year, that's a year longer than
I mean, that's not good stand-up. I'm sorry, that's not good stand-up.
Yeah, but
that's not good stand-up.
Well, I mean, I've got like 10 years of Muay Thai under my belt too. So, it's just, just having a presence in the ring in a fight is probably a massive kind of, massive advantage, together. I saw, on Twitter, I saw on Instagram, I think out of all the places, someone, Elon with some of the legends in the jiu-jitsu sport and MMA sport, he's with St. Pierre and John Danaher and was it with Gordon Ryan too, or is it Lex Friedman? But he was with like, it was with, so being trained
Lex
by the best.
Lex
is a black belt. Yeah. And I think a fairly newly minted one. Yeah. But like, that doesn't give you the skills. Osmosis in jiu-jitsu is very slow. And MMA, I've actually started to do a little MMA during over the summer when I have a little bit more free time, and man, that's just another beast altogether. So there's a lot of skills to put together, and basically I think it's going to be a big snooze fest because at the end of the day, like watching two untrained fighters fight in a sports
very ugly. Yeah, that's a very ugly thing to watch.
It's pretty unentertaining. I guess that guy Jake Paul, for anyone who knows him, is proving that too. But I think what'll actually be kind of fascinating, more so than the fight, is where would this be broadcasted on? Right? Is it going to go on Twitter Live? Twitter's live channel. Is it going to go on Instagram Live? If Dana White's involved, is it going to go on UFC Fight Pass? Where is this going to be shown? Right? Where are the broadcast rights for this going to go? I think that could be just as fascinating, or probably more fascinating than the fight itself.
I mean, UFC's on ESPN Plus, right? So it'd probably go there. Are you saying this could be even bigger than that? Like,
I mean, if I'm Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, why aren't I'm in it? Why aren't I getting the sort of broadcasting benefits? Why am I giving away those rights?
Well, and thank you, Christopher Smith. Great contribution. Catherine, great contribution. She says she loves Elon, but he inherited a mess. Give it some time. She finds him inspiring. Maybe she's, betting on him, for the win. I guess at the end of the day, maybe if nothing else, and thank you, Walter Bitrack, for your generous contribution as well. I mean, if nothing else, maybe these guys are inspiring a new look for tech nerd guys. As I said, when I was a kid, it was like, it was Revenge of the Nerds type with the big thick glasses and total losers. These are the richest men in the world. They've all got incredible physiques now. They're totally cut and they're fighting. So this is a great look for business people. Probably you would both agree. I mean, they're physically fit, mentally active, engaged, and also having a sense of humor about themselves too.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's great. I mean, we should all aspire to that. Aspire to be your best physically, aspire to be your best mentally, emotionally, intellectually, and have a sense of humor about yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the best part of it. It's like, at least, you see, there's an esteem about it. It's like, all right, like let's have fun with this, right? And who cares, how we look? Like, obviously, neither one of these guys are going to be a prime fighter, right? I mean, they're, almost anyone who trains who's been training in either one of these, any of these disciplines for longer than 2 years, which is not a long time, is probably more skilled than these guys. But they don't care. They don't, they're going to go out there and kind of have fun with it, at least, in theory. So I think that's great. It's like not, I don't want to say not taking life too seriously. It's actually taking life very seriously, right? And going out and having fun, in a selfish way, because they're doing it for them. They're not doing it for, to showcase their, showcase their skill. At least I hope not.
And it's pretty sexy to be nerdy and to be able to defend your values hand in hand. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, look at Bezos, right? Bezos is now, he went from the scrawny, nerdy guy to like a jacked kind of, billionaire. So good for him.
No One is a great contribution. Thank you so much, No One. Here keeping us on the air. No One says, what do you think about Twitter's versus Meta's Threads financial options? With Meta's huge financial resources and Twitter's hectic move to subscriptions, Meta has the clear advantage in resources here. Seth, this is your bailiwick. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, not financial advice. I haven't really, I haven't done any financial analysis on either company. So this is not like a well-informed analysis, but obviously you're looking at kind of the market cap of Meta. They have Facebook, which generates profits. So, at least Threads from the onset will have a pretty big advantage of having, able to lean on financial, available financial resources, huge market cap, public equity, cash flow. Twitter it really seems like Musk is trying to find a way to make this thing work. Because so far it doesn't seem like they've been able to crack the profitability nut. Getting people to sign up. I mean, I don't know how they've been doing. They're a private company under his ownership. So I don't know what the financials are like, nor did I look at them when they were public. But, I know for myself, like it's tough to get people to subscribe after, they've been using things for free. I don't know if like the ads are really working. Like I would never have thought that social media would have been a great business model to begin with. I would have been wrong, so I have no idea. But yeah, I give it to cash is king, and in that respect, I've got to give it to Threads.
Well, and Equal to Reality says the fight will be like watching the Daniel Cheever Mark Darcy fight from Bridget Jones's Diary. So Mark Darcy knows exactly what that is.
That's a funny fight.
But maybe they'll you got that reference because I have no idea what that is.
Check it out. But maybe they'll surprise us, right? I mean, they're savants in so many ways, and maybe that can be applied to the way they pick up jiu-jitsu. I mean, you're a blue belt. I mean, in reality, I think you could tap anybody who doesn't know anything about jiu-jitsu, and I think they get the best. I mean, if he's rolling with Gordon Ryan, for crying out loud. I mean, come on.
Yeah, he's
rolling with Gordon. That guy's like the greatest in the world. You're gonna, even if you get 1/1,000,000th of his rolling capacity, you're gonna beat pretty much everybody.
Yeah, but how much can you? That's the thing. Like jiu-jitsu is such a. I mean, all of these. I mean, any sport, right? Like, let's just and particularly jiu-jitsu, particularly MMA, but like even go to baseball, go to any sport is like, it takes a lot of, it's very complicated. These are complicated, specialized movements. And how much can you pick up in such a short period of time? Like, even if I had, I don't know, like Aaron Judge as a hitting coach, for a year, like, could I go out there and hit a major league pitcher? Like no way. Well, right. Like,
I think we have actual proof of this when James Toney tried to make the crossover from boxing. He's a 4-time or 5-time, world champion in different weight classes, one of the greatest middleweights and super middleweights of all time, then became heavyweight champion. And they talked about him training for a year. All right. He trained for a year in grappling. Who is he fighting? Randy Couture, who's like one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He should have been learning like how to stuff the takedown. That's all he should have been learning to do for a year. But they kept showing him doing all this fancy stuff on the mat. I'm like, he's never going to be able to do that. Yeah. And of course, within 45 seconds, he's on the ground getting choked out.
Yeah. I mean, that's why Hoist Gracie won basically won UFC, the early UFCs, because he basically took his skill set to something that nobody had a skill in and just, destroyed everyone, ate everyone's lunch. So then on the flip side, you have two guys who really have close to little skill, or underdeveloped skills against each other. So, at least Zuck has done a tournament or two. Elon coming in cold. Like, I got to give it to Zuck by a lot.
I tell you, the sports writers on TV have nothing on this podcast. This is better than ESPN 4 or 5 or whatever number they're on now. This is
I need a little Max Kellerman to come in here and talk about it. I didn't know that Zuckerman's done a couple of tournaments.
I think he's done a tournament or two. Again, neither one of these guys' lives make it, rank very highly in my own. I try to ignore both of them, but I think I saw him. He did a tournament or so. So he's training. So, for that, that versus nothing goes a long way.
Maybe that's something we can kind of give some credit or value here, in that, these men are demonstrating a life that, at least, for many appearances, seems somewhat balanced. They're not at the office every single moment, everything. And Mark, to your point, physical health is part of their wellness routine, their well-being routine. And, I think all of this, both the competition in the boardroom with the services and in the octagon, is a really positive message and a positive symbolism of American capitalism.
Well, here's a good question about this, right? Because right, let's say, obviously Elon Musk knows that Mark Zuckerberg is training whatever, right? When Mark Zuckerberg posts all this stuff, right? So is it arrogance on Elon Musk, overconfidence? Like, is it basically positive or negative that Musk thinks he could step in and into a fight and win versus someone who's been training?
Oh, it sounds erratic and crazy. So it seems like it's perfectly in keeping with his personality. And
right.
And in that case, when there's somebody like that thinks they're, more than they are, I don't mind if Zuckerberg would give him a little tap out, just to let him know it's not as easy as you think.
Yeah. No, I go ahead, John.
I've seen some of what happens at these MMAs. Look, if Zuckerberg kills Musk, there's going to be a real issue here with the NASDAQ come Monday morning, the following Monday morning.
That is true. Yeah.
You guys you've downplayed it. I know I'm just being a little cheeky here, but both of you participate in this sport. There's risks to not getting your social media strategy right. If Meta doesn't figure this out, they don't come up with something new. Instagram is 10 plus years old. They've got to come up with something new. So, there's an urgency in not only getting it right on the court and defending yourself, but they've got to get this business strategy right, or Musk's going to blow $45 million and Zuckerberg's going to be the next Globe.com.
Yeah, no, I think clearly they didn't make Meta Threads for the cage match. So, this must have been, again, I don't follow Meta that much. This is just, what I know this is osmosis from other industries that I do follow closely. Like, my sense is the hype around the metaverse has sort of fizzled out. It seems like Facebook, has sort of past its prime. Now you have Instagram, and maybe, if they're smart, they're worrying about what's next, right? They do have shareholders, they do need to grow. So I think it probably seems like a logical step to make, right? Because it's a way for them to leverage kind of their installed user base, but whether or not it's a viable business or not, I have no idea. And I would have been skeptical that this is kind of the step that they take, just given the trouble at Twitter, right? There've been plenty of social media contenders who have stepped in. No one has seemed to be able to dethrone Twitter, and it's probably has something to, my sense is it has something to do with the business model. So to see Meta kind of come into a potentially challenging business model doesn't seem that smart, but what do I know? Hopefully he proves me wrong, because obviously the more products out there, the better for consumers. So.
Well, it sounds like we'll all be on there sooner or later. So we invite all of our viewers from around the globe to follow Mark Pellegrino, Seth Levine, and myself on Threads, on Twitter, on Facebook, and follow more than anything else the Ayn Rand Center UK. And you've got a whole team of people from all over the world working so hard to bring you interesting, valuable content to you on a daily basis from all over the, today we talked about business and the economy. We talk about metaphysics, epistemology. Mark does an incredible show about art and aesthetics, analyzing some of the best television being produced. So, help us out by hitting us up on the super chat, becoming a member, £5, £10 a month. It does so much, not just capital, but also intellectual ammunition to help keep our team going and motivated and strong. So we're back tomorrow, brand new Ayn Rand Center UK Daily Objective. You might see some of these handsome and learned gentlemen on this or upcoming show. Any final words, folks, before we sign off for the day?
I guess you could also follow me on Threads too. I'm gonna have to add that. Although I don't know how much I'll be on there, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to watch.
And Mark as well. Thank you so much, Mark. Great to speak with you today.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great summer, everyone.
We'll be back tomorrow. Best premises and be well.